So I had originally recorded something earlier in the day that I have decided to put aside. So after 35 days, now 36 days of doing this, it's allowed me to kind of hone my message after, repetition and repetition and repetition of hearing things. And, as I'm moved to talk about various things, the thing that sticks out to me most of all is kind of leave the past in the past, focus on the present, things that we cannot do anything about. Kind of don't let that take up space in your resource kit anymore. So, in other words, don't let that you'll use your resources up, especially when it's not going to be used for anything positive. Don't allow that to leak your system of gas and energy and things that we need to do something positive. And another thing is that, whatever has gotten us to this point now, it's never too late to kind of make a decision to change and to do things in a better way and to do things in a more positive way and to put a better foot forward in the interest of having a better future and minimizing the negative and increasing and maximizing the positive. Other things, kind of that self-talk, okay, kind of not allowing us to allow ourselves to be relegated to any one area in life, but rather to make a decision that we will make moves in the right direction and not to wait for things to happen. So I spent a good amount of today watching boxing, listening to boxers, hearing them be interviewed and watching them go through kind of their daily routines and different aspects of their day. And I wanted to think about, or I'm always kind of thinking about how can I apply what I see and what I experience, even if it's in a totally different field, to what it is that I do personally and what it is that I do from the perspective of teaching others and motivating others to be able to do their best. So a couple of things that kind of moved me and inspired me during this that I wanted to pass along to you happened. So in watching these boxers, okay, talk about dedication and commitment and putting your life and your body on the line for what it is that you believe in, is very inspiring. And I'll tell you a couple of things that I heard. So there were two undefeated boxers fighting, and after the fight, the boxer that lost was talking about how he was disappointed and how he is used to being the one in the position to put the other guy onto the mat. And how he realizes that at this point now he's no longer undefeated and he's kind of got to go back to level zero. Or I forgot if he said level zero or ground zero, or what did he say? Square one, what have you. Okay, and the thing about that is he wasn't feeling sorry for himself. He was saying, okay, well, this is what I have to do. And what it reminded me of is kind of like when we work and we work and we work and then we get hit with like either an infection or an exacerbation and we get knocked on our butts, by being in the hospital or having to take steroids and antibiotics or something like that. And the thing about it that I found so impressive and so moving it was because, you could tell this guy was hurt. You could tell he was hurt, like he was hurt by it. He was physically and emotionally hurt by losing and shocked. But he did not say, that's it, I'm quitting, I'm getting out of boxing, I'm doing this or that. He said, you know what, now I have to start over from level zero. and he had every intention of doing it. So after, years of never losing a fight, he lost a fight, and within minutes of losing this fight, after having years of this good, boom, knocked on his butt, but within minutes of that is up and saying, okay, well, I have to start at level 0, but now it's time to do that work again. Start all over, do that work again, start all over, work your way back, okay? And that is very apropos for people with chronic illnesses, okay? Especially diseases like COPD and other respiratory diseases, where we know that there are periods of exacerbation and periods of remission. So in other words, there are times when things go well, there are times where things don't go well, and I talk about chutes and ladders very often. So it's like we're constantly working to climb, go, boo, down the chute, okay? Doesn't take long for that. Climbing up is very hard. Going down the chute is effortless, right? And then getting back up. And what this really has to do with, and the reason why I bring this up in this context is it's because it's really important to make a decision to fight no matter what, to fight until your last breath. And in the event that you're going down, to go down fighting and swinging and kicking and screaming. And the thing is that there are things that we can do to stack the odds in our favor. So for a boxer, it's to train every day. It's to do all the things necessary. It's to eat right. It's to, spar. It's all the things that they need to do to prepare themselves to maximize the odds, to maximize their chances of winning. And in our situation, it's very, very similar. So we don't want to get knocked out, okay? We don't want the other team to score a touchdown. And that knockout punch could be, pneumonia. It could be an exacerbation. It could be another infection. It could be, there's many, many different things it can be. But we want to do everything within our power to make sure that, A, it doesn't happen. So in other words, we want to make sure that we are as prepared as possible, for victory, that we do everything in our power to make sure that we stay healthy, and that we are prepared for the things and the challenges that are going to come our way. However, we also want to, do all the things that prepare us for fight night, but we also want to do the things that are going to minimize us getting knocked out. In the event that we do go down, that are going to maximize our chances of both mentally and physically being ready and being prepared and having what it takes to work our way back up, right? Because until you're ready to throw in the towel, another boxing pun, which nobody who's watching this is ready to throw in the towel, or you would have no point in watching this. But until that's the case, we need to be breathing and fighting and throwing punches and preparing, number one, to be ready, and to prepare ourselves to be ready for the fight. And, for us, it's a little bit different because living with a chronic disease is not a 10-rounder, okay? It's a lifelong fight. But that's even more of a reason why we have to prepare on a daily basis. We have to do the things that will strengthen us both physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And we have to prepare that for the fact that if something does go wrong, we have an arsenal and we have a playbook in place to kind of help us work out of that hole, okay? When you have a chronic disease, or even if you don't have a chronic disease, it's unrealistic to think that we're just going to go through our lives and every single day is going to be a healthy day. It's unrealistic to think that we're never going to get sick or we're never going to get hurt. We just live too many days and things are going to happen. But the idea is, if we have the sense that, okay, well, I am not only prepared and working towards having the best days possible, I'm also prepared and working towards a solution and a game plan should things not go exactly as planned. So the key to that is we start where we are, okay? And as I say over and over again, do what you can with what you have where you are. Here's where we are. So our goal now is to climb. Do the things that we have to do on a daily basis to make sure that we are ready for all comers, that we are ready for fight night, okay? That we are ready to breathe better, that we're ready to be able to do more, that we're ready to minimize our shortness of breath and get back to doing the things that we love. But we're also prepared that if something doesn't go right, and again, as I say all the time, you could do everything right and something could still go wrong. It's okay. But not that if something goes wrong, we throw out the baby with the bathwater. We say, you know what? We knew this was coming. We expected for this to come. We know what to do here, okay? And very often it's the same things that we do to get us into a great position in the first place, but it may be starting at a lower level or this and that, and it may be more challenging to do less. But again, you know what to do, you have the tools, so that A, we're preparing for fight night, we're preparing for victory, we're preparing to knock out our opponents. In this case, our opponents are obstructive lung disease like COPD, asthma, restrictive lung disease like PF, pulmonary fibrosis, pulmonary hypertension, and it doesn't matter if you have coronary disease or this or that or the other thing, okay? Whatever it is, it is. And then to be prepared should everything not go exactly according to plan. And being prepared that, hey, you know what, I may get knocked on my ass, but at that moment, I am going to pick the pieces up and regroup and come back from this, all right? So that's one thing I learned. Another thing was that there was another boxer who was undefeated and who got knocked down in the first round. And when he was in between rounds with his trainer, one of the things he did was he alluded to the knockdown, and he was saying, you know, I can't believe this guy knocked me down, blah, 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 blah. And the trainer, Nazir, specifically said this. He said, you know what, that was then. Don't worry about that anymore. Don't think about that anymore, okay? And that was something that happened maybe like a minute earlier, okay? And he's saying that was then, right? And it got me to thinking, like, how many of us are focused on things that we coulda, shoulda, woulda done 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or a year ago, or a week ago, right? And, you know, this relates to the story I tell often about the guy who bumps you in the street and keeps on walking and you're still talking about it, right? This was a minute ago. And I recognized that this trainer is trying to get his boxer focused to say, you know what, that's then. Talking about that now is not going to help. We need to focus our resources on the next round. And that is something that I try to say to you all the time, although I don't say it in those exact words. What I'm trying to get you to say is, you know what? When something is in the past, if you can't do anything about it to change it, then we must put it behind us and let it go and move forward, because life continues on. And if we're not moving forward, we're losing ground and moving backward, okay? Now, that being said, it's easier said than done, okay? I'm not saying snap your fingers and forget about it. We deal with a lot of serious things. We deal with serious illnesses. We deal with losses. We deal with, you know, many, many, many struggles, okay? So I'm not saying, boop, end of story, move forward. Oh, you lost somebody in your family, boop. Nope, that's it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, as always, don't overspend, don't underspend. Spend the appropriate amount of time, energy, resources to do what we need to do to stay focused on our mission. And if going back in time is taking away from that, then we must move forward. We must make a decision to move forward. Now, that being said, there are going to be opportunities for us to actually improve things from the past. So, for example, you hurt somebody, you wronged somebody, you made a mistake that ended up, you know, costing somebody something or that. If you can make up for that, by all means, you know, go for it. Okay, that's worthwhile use of energy, because in the long run, that is going to strengthen our resolve. That is going to strengthen our mental abilities and well-being. That's going to strengthen our emotional well-being. And by strengthening our mental and emotional well-being, we work towards strengthening our physical well-being. And the converse of that is that when we're not emotionally and intellectually and mentally and emotionally and spiritually sound, that will have an impact on our physical as well. And then the final thing I want to talk about tonight was one one of the fighters was Sugar Shane Mosley's son, Shane the Sugarman Mosley Jr. Okay, and it was an interesting, tough fight. Okay, and the thing is that initially it looked like Shane was having a really hard time, and he was getting really beaten up by a bigger boxer. And finally he came back, and at the end of the fight he was interviewed, and one of the things he said was, it felt like I was getting bullied, or it felt like this guy was trying to bully me. And I had to let him know that he's not going to get away with bullying me, or I had to let him know that he's not going to bully me, okay? And again, if you think about the quote I told you last week, which is that when you want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, you will be successful. And I said, if you want to breathe as much as you want to succeed, you will be able to breathe. And I summoned you to reach back to your past, to the times when you were at your best, at your strength, when you were striving, when you were reaching, when you were looking to excel, when you were looking to climb that ladder, etc., etc., etc. And the thing is kind of the same today. Think back 20 years or 10 years or 30 years or 50 years, it doesn't matter. But think back to how you might have responded to a bully, okay? You have to let your bully know, or you have to let that person know that you are not willing to be bullied. And whereas many of us were strong people in our earlier days, and forceful people, and fightful people, and powerful people, and people who were not afraid, over time, some of that may have become dormant. But if you think about your illness, your COPD, your pulmonary fibrosis, your pulmonary hypertension, as that bully, and remind yourself and ask yourself to dig down deep to that time when you never would have allowed a bully to walk all over you, or this or that or the other thing, and do it again and say, you know what? Yeah, this person is big and strong and scary. Or, yeah, this disease is big and powerful and strong and scary and relentless and is trying to throw me off my game. But guess what, COPD? Guess what, pulmonary fibrosis? Guess what, pulmonary hypertension? I will not be bullied. I will not be bullied by you. Okay? And that's that. Okay, some interesting things. So again, if it's in the past, leave it in the past. That was then, this is now. Okay, understand that there's going to be bumps in the road, and sometimes we have to take a few steps back in order to start coming forward again, or sometimes we have no choice, but we have to take a few steps back, or we slide down a chute and we have to start back again from scratch. And that's happened to me several times, okay, both personally and professionally, and physically. And the thing is that we must commit that regardless of how things go, we will commit to the recome. We will commit to coming back, to the comeback, and to being willing to do the work no matter how hard, and being willing to take the steps no matter how small they may be. And then finally, let's not let this bully us. Let's not let these diseases bully us. There's strength in numbers. Let's get the team together. Let's pull out, the weapons that we have. Let's use the resources that we have. Let's use the knowledge and the experience that we have, and let's keep this thing going. Okay, you are strong. You are powerful. You can do this. Remind yourself of that. Okay, sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget that we have strength and power. Remind yourself, and I will remind you, and you remind me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.